ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः। अथ ध्यानम् पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितः पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणी भगवती अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वा अनुसन्धदामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी।
Thank you. So we'll just start with meditation right now. I'll request all of you to gently close your eyes and be seated in a comfortable position. Make sure your back is rested well and it is straight as well. Now take your attention to your legs. Make sure they're relaxed. Next, to your hips. Make sure they're relaxed. To your back, they should be straight and relaxed. To your neck, relax. To your shoulders, make sure your shoulders are relaxed. It is generally stressed. Attention to the back of your forehead, relax. Top of your head, relax. Your forehead, relax. Your eyelids, make sure your eyelids are relaxed. Your tongue, your teeth, everything relax. Put a gentle smile on your lips. Your chest, relax. Your stomach, relaxed. You're breathing gently right now. Watch your breath. Be in this relaxed position. Back to your legs, your feet, your fingers, all of them relaxed. Now scan your body from bottom to top and make sure everything is completely relaxed. There is nowhere to go now. There is nothing to be done in this very moment. You're simply present and relaxed. Scan yourself. Slowly bring your attention to your breath. Notice your breath. There is nothing else to do but to notice your breath and this very moment. When you notice your breath, check when you breathe in the air and when you breathe out the air. It will be cold when you breathe in and it will be warm when you breathe out. Keep noticing. Slowly bring your attention to a tip in between your eyebrows. That is called Agya Chakra, a place where you put your bindi, kumkum, tika, tilak. Bring your attention in between your eyebrows. You may feel a tingling sensation over there. That's absolutely fine. Attention back to eyebrows. Focus on your eyebrow center, Agya Chakra. Be there for a few moments. Focus on your Agya Chakra. And slowly bring your attention back to your breath. Watch, witness, notice your breath. Start moving your fingers. Rub your palms. Generate some heat. And cup it right in front of your eyes and slowly open your eyes. All right, we're all settled right now. And for next 1 hour, we have nothing else to do but to be here present. All right, so let's go ahead. My deep obeisance to Swami Tadatmananda ji. It's his teachings, which is what I'm going to talk about even today. And he's initiated by Pujya Swami Dayanand Saraswati. Now, what we have seen in our last session was that there is a lot of symbolism in Bhagwat Gita. The first symbolism is that there is a war. What is a war? The war is between dharma and adharma. It's not about good and evil, it is a war. And where is that war happening? The war is happening inside you, because the war is symbolized between the Kurus, between the same family. It simply means that there's a war. There's a war between what is right and wrong, confusion within your emotions, within your beliefs. Where is it happening? It is happening within you. And what is the problem? Where exactly is the problem? Why is it so difficult for us to identify what is right and what is wrong? It's not that people are dharmic or they are evil. It's because there is lack of knowledge. And that lack of knowledge is called avidya. So that is denominated by Drashtra, who does not have power of seeing, the power of vision. And that is significant. The significance of that is that Duryodhana, who's born out of Drashtra. So Duryodhana represents adharma, and adharma is because of lack of vision, which is ajnanam, or which is avidya. So the only way to understand dharma is to remove avidya and to basically have vidya. What is the problem in removing avidya? What is the problem in moving towards dharma? Is that most of us are designed to basically travel external to us. We are mostly looking outside, which is called prayers. And that's certainly an easy part. It is very difficult to look within. And we all know this. The self-awareness is not an easy task. It's not an easy path. It requires a lot of determination to look at your thoughts, to look at your beliefs, to question it, to introspect, to make changes within yourself than expecting others to change. And therefore, and that is why exactly it happens. So that's where the Shreyas and Prayas comes into picture. And what is Upanishad trying to say? That yes, sometimes it is difficult. Sometimes it is difficult to see. Even if Shri Krishna showed his Vishwarupa to the entire set of people in Duryodhana and his aides, but nobody took him or took that thing seriously, which goes to say that it's okay. I mean, there are times where things really do not happen the or we do not necessarily look at things. And more importantly, we need to understand is only when we are prepared, only when people are prepared, they are in the position to grasp this knowledge. If you expect people to change, that will not happen. Even if God comes in front of them, that will not work. So these are the things that we looked at, and where we stopped was here, that Arjuna wanted to basically see that who are the people he's fighting, and therefore he requested Sri Krishna to take him in the middle of the battlefield and see who are the people whom he wants to fight with. And that is where we ended. A quiz question that we had was this, that is the aim of Bhagwat Gita to give you clear commandments of do's and don'ts? The answer is no. It will give you a pretty big, nice guidelines in terms of how to follow dharma and understand your Swadharma, understand karma and karma yoga. And we are going to see all of it. And more importantly, the essence of Bhagavad Gita is to remove the veil of ignorance, remove avidya, to let us know who we truly are. And once we understand that, things change automatically. And that's and when we go through it, we'll see it for ourselves. So let us get in today's session. And today is something we are going to end session 1 today. Now, here's a question for all of you. Suppose if a friend calls you in the middle of the night or maybe during the day, and the friend tells you, hey, I'm having a sinking feeling. I feel feeble. There is a dryness in my mouth. My body is trembling. My skin is burning. There's a continuous churning in my stomach. What is it your friend is feeling at that juncture? Some of your counselors, you know exactly what it means.
Anxious.
Yes. Your friend is going through a anxiety attack. Is it okay? Are we all aligned to this? All right. So let us look at what happens between 1.25, 25th shloka to 28th shloka. So when Arjuna came and started looking around, he saw, along with Bhishma, Drona, and all the other kings, he sees fathers, grandfathers, teachers, uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, father-in-law, and lot of his well-wishers, where they gathered. Gathered where? Gathered in the battlefield. And ultimately, what will happen to each one of them? They will ultimately die. They will die fighting each other. And how will you feel? Suppose if you see your cousins fighting with each other. Nobody feels good. But here, all his relatives, close one, even though they are on the other side, doesn't matter. They're standing face to face and they are going to fight. And there'll be mass amount of people who are going to die in this battle. And this very thought made him feel a sinking feeling. He started feeling feeble, dryness in his mouth, trembling inside his body. His hair standing to this end. His bow started slipping from his hand. His skin started burning. And he started feeling dizzy and he was unable to stand. Exactly the features which is called anxiety attack. Now remember, Arjuna was a great warrior. He was India's greatest warrior. He was not scared of fighting, but something else was happening. He was simply horrified by the inevitability of death and destruction of so many family members. And it's not easy to take that seat. And then what happens? Something happens. Arjuna suddenly looks at to Krishna and says that what am I even fighting for? Even if I get the entire kingship, the kingdom, what is the use of this kingdom? Because all the people whom I have loved, most of them will die in the battlefield. And he says that forget for the sake of earth. I will not kill them, even for the sake of 3 words. Even if I am killed, I can't do that, Krishna. And he became very feeble, very, very emotional. And then something interesting happens. He starts justifying his idea of not killing, not because he was emotionally overwhelmed. He started giving interesting reasons. The reason, which is elaborated in 1.36, 36 shloka to 39 shloka, he clearly says that, Shri Krishna, that the sin will befall on us, even if we kill these villains, even if we kill Duryodhana and his brothers. Because the problem is that Duryodhana doesn't understand. They are overcome by greed. And they do not see that the entire family is getting destructed. But we are wise people. We can see that. And therefore, we should not go out and fight and kill our own family members for the sake of kingdom. Logically right. Absolutely right. And then he goes about saying to Shri Krishna from verse number 40 to 45, look, we are destroying the entire dharma. What is dharma? Dharma is basically a set of rules or which are aligned to the universal laws. So every family has their own set of rules. And here what Arjuna is saying that when we kill those men, the children will be orphaned, and all the rules and regulations which were followed in any family will get destroyed. And there'll be intermingling of other races, and therefore the entire dharma will get destroyed. So what he said that destroying one's own family will destroy family's ancient laws. And the remaining family will be overcome by adharma as the laws of the clan will be lost. And also the ancestors will fall because there are a lot of rituals which were done for the ancestors. So since those rituals will not be done, even those ancestors will fall. So he told Shri Krishna that we are going to commit a great sin. Because of our greed for the kingdom, we are killing our own relatives. There'll be a mass destruction. The dharma of the family will be lost, and the entire world, entire kingdom will be covered by dharma. Right? And then suddenly, he experiences suicidal thoughts. He says, I am more than happy not to fight, remain unarmed, go right in front of Dhritarashtra and his brothers, and let them kill me. That is far better for me than to fight this battle. And after saying that, Arjuna sat down in his chariot. He threw his arrows and bow, completely overwhelmed by sorrow. Can you all imagine this script? Can you imagine what's happening there? Put yourself in his shoes. Think about the situation when when you basically see your children fighting within themselves, or your family members fighting for small trivial issues. How do you feel? And here, Arjuna is seeing that the entire clans, his entire family is going to fight against each other, and they all will be destroyed and killed. So he is certainly going to be overcome by a lot of sorrow. And when he had that feeling, he could not fight. And that covers up the chapter 1 of Bhagwat Gita. But there are a lot of very interesting points that we need to understand right now. The first point I want to ask each one of you, what do you feel? Was Arjuna right?
Yeah, I think Arjuna was right. Who would want families to fight and get destroyed?
Right. Any other views? Now
It
we're
is
going to
very
have discussion.
difficult to break away from our value systems that we've been taught and that we've come to believe in for a long time. So just because you're going to war to be able to stabilize yourself and just think that, yeah, this is what I need to do is not an easy task, not easy for everyone.
Correct. It's not easy for anyone.
Being practical and doing things is something not so easy. The emotion always hits you first.
Absolutely. Emotions takes over. It's not easy. So you all sympathize with Arjuna, right? Do you all feel the same, that this has happened in our lives as well? Because when you have to take a tough situation, the emotions takes over, and then somewhere the logic starts saying why emotion is right. Has it happened?
Yeah.
Or have you seen it happening to others? Sometimes very difficult to see ourselves, but it's easy to see others. So have you seen when someone is overwhelmed by emotion, they start speaking extremely logically to justify their action? Have you seen that?
Yeah, most of the time.
Most of the time. Does it happen to us? No.
Yes.
It happens, right? So this is something which is quite there, because if you look at our mental construct, as we have seen in Tattva Bhuta, that we have manas, buddhi, chitta, ahankar. So what is manas? Manas is my emotions, right? What is my buddhi? Buddhi is my power to decide, discern what is right and what is wrong. What is ahankara? The ahankara is the feeling of self. So when your manas is highly activated, then your buddhi does not have the ability to reach out to your chitta or to your intelligence or to your memory to decide what is the right thing to do. Right? And somewhere it kind of sides with your manas. So now let us decipher, because today's session will all be discussion. We are done. We are done. Now we are going to understand the essence of what is happening. Now let us ask about Arjuna's interpretation of dharma here. Arjun is saying that this war is adharma. And what is the logic he has given? The war is adharma. What is the logic?
Because it's going to eliminate families and all that. He feels that's not right, so that's a dharma for him.
Absolutely. So it will eliminate families. And when the families are eliminated, the laws of families are eliminated, and the society will become an anarchy. So all the systems which were developed over hundreds and hundreds or hundreds of years to align themselves with the universal form, with the universal dharma, will be lost. So somewhere I am basically going to, this is an dharmic war as far as Arjuna is concerned, right? Now the point you have to ask here is, this understanding came to him now in this battle, or this understanding came to him before he was preparing for the battle? Because they were preparing for battles for years and years together, isn't it?
I think when he saw the people, when he went there and really saw them, is where it really hit him. I don't think it ever crossed his mind otherwise.
Perfect. So only when he saw his people, only when the emotions his attachment took over, he suddenly realized and realigned his definition of dharma. Kaushal, you're saying something.
Vidhan, so I was thinking that Arjuna is not wrong in the logic that he puts forth.
Correct.
Because if you look at it from his Swadharma, his own personal level, he is correct in saying that I don't want to decimate my family. Maybe, yes, they are greedy. I need to be the bigger person. So in that way, I think it is correct. But if you look at it in terms of the bigger picture, like the bigger dharma, I don't know what that is. Then he needs to overcome his what do you call the swadharma, and say that even though on a personal level he might be not following dharma, but on the more global level, it was the right thing to do. I don't know. I was thinking in that way.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So he's not wrong in the logic that he puts forth and what he's thinking, but I think he is yes, his emotions did overcome him, and he lost sight of the bigger picture temporarily, I think.
So at this point of time, Arjuna is experiencing the idea of non-violence and empathy.
Yes.
Is that really an empathy and non-violence?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. What it is he's experiencing, right? Overwhelming love for yeah, I'm not sure.
Perfect. No worries. We'll never be sure. And that is the fun of Bhagwat Gita. I mean, we have to explore, we have to ask. It's not about right and wrong, black and white.
Yeah.
Asha, you wanted to say something if I'm right.
Yeah, just that sometimes, it's inaction also is wrong. It's not about just sometimes someone might say, I'll stay silent, but that staying silent is also a choice. Now, there are so many cases where there's violence happening and you are an onlooker and you stay silent to the violence or abuse that's happening. That's not right. And one can't absolve themselves by saying, I stayed silent, right? So not doing anything is not a choice in the face of injustice. So that way Arjuna was wrong. And from a perspective of Kshatriya also, the fact that when you say Swadharma, it includes many things and includes the fact that he's a Kshatriya, right? So from that perspective, it was wrong. So he's only looking at it from the point of view of the family, from that perspective. But there are multiple perspectives, right, when you're making a decision. So I think it was not anyway a thought out decision. As Bidan said, if that were the case, he would not have come to the war itself. It was more an attack of, a last minute thing that came upon him, right? And it was not because of lack of courage also, because that's not the way he is. So it is the compunctions that come at that point of time came at that point, but never before.
And it's interesting that, Yudhishthira is also called Dharmaraja, and he never had any doubts about what he was going to do. But it is so he was very clear cut that this war needs to happen. But it is Arjuna who is having these second thoughts about, should I do something about this? Should I not do anything about it? Or yeah, so that is also quite interesting.
Very nice. Interesting point of views, discussion, the way we are going. So let us now try and go a little deeper into this, right? And since Kaushal, you brought out that Yudhishthir was considered to be Dharma Raja, and he felt this is a Dharma Yuddha, a Dharma Yuddha. Okay, so let us now define what is Dharma Yuddha. What is Dharma Yuddha?
A war with a purpose to establish dharma or the righteousness at a larger picture. So it's all begin with that to establish the dharma. So I feel it's the purpose of the war basically when you say dharma yuddha.
Perfect. So how do you kind of classify a war? How do you even justify it? So let us take a situation that you have two situations right now in front of you. You, the Arjuna, has two situations in front of you. One, I don't fight the war. And since I don't fight the war at this point of time, and I withdraw, I basically prevent the destruction of family members happening because of this event. And that is going to help you in the short run. Now, what will happen is that if you don't fight the war, Duryodhan and his company becomes the undeclared kings. Imagine the kind of atrocities and adharma which will prevail over a longer period of time. So when you're getting into a war, you have a choice to be made. Whether by inflicting this war, in short term, I am creating certain amount of destruction, but in the long run, I am establishing righteousness and dharma. Or in the short run, I am giving away the pain, but in the long run, I am basically creating a perfect place for more torture and more unrighteousness to happen over a period of time. Do you see this? And this is exactly the complication that one faces. So you think in your own personal life. Suppose if someone is going through a certain abusive marriage, just taking an example. So if you move out, the children are at stake. You really don't know how they will. But if you continue to, you don't know how you will perform over a period of time. Or suppose you are in an organization into a sales job, you sell a product which is not good for the clients, but you get promotion. But if you don't, then maybe you will have your conscience right, which may help you in the longer run, but in short run, you are going to lose out a lot. Are you able to see it? So Dharma Yuddha can be clearly established whether the price that I pay in the short run consumerates for the establishment of Dharma in the long run. And please understand here, the Pandavas were not fighting. The Krishna, along with Pandavas, was not fighting for the kingdom. They were fighting to establish Dharma. They wanted to establish the right set of people ruling the country here onwards. That was the motive. The motive was not to get the kingdom. And therefore, it has been described as Dharma Yuddha. And where Arjuna is mistaking it, he's talking about it again and again. That, if you see in the first one, that what's the use of this kingdom and the enjoyments and even leaving? So somewhere he's getting confused because he's so overwhelmed by the emotions, he has forgotten the reason they are fighting is not for getting the kingdom, but to establish Dharma. And then he goes about saying that it's an entire adharmic work because you are killing the family members and therefore you are destroying Dharma. The fact of the matter is, if you're not fighting this war, you are actually allowing adharma to percolate, because the people who are going to be the rulers, they represent adharma. So are you able to see this now? Now, can you look at this? And some of you, Rajdeep, pointed out that when you're going through a war, whether it is in your personal life or whether it is, corporate life or in the larger scale of things, sometimes the choice has to be made. And how do you make a choice? To make a choice which is convenient to you right now, or you make a choice weighing the options which is there in the short. Now I want to listen from each one of you.
Vedan, very often in life, the auto response or the immediate response to anything is always going to be from a space of emotions. Lot to do with our conditioning, how we have been told the value systems, everything, unless it's work to use your logical. See, now Arjuna and Yudhishthir they're brought up in the same household. They have the same upbringing, same values. Yudhishthir is able to use his logical mind. Arjuna isn't. Now, it doesn't mean that Yudhishthir is better it's just that situationally he's able to kind of, when in a situation, he's able to use his logical mind, and Arjuna is struggling to kind of see through that, which is what happens. Not all of us are equipped. Usually in life, when we struggle, we go back to that child and the things that we've told, the righteous, the good, the bad, and the thing. I think the auto response is always going to be from an emotional space, unless you distance yourself and you're able to see the larger picture. I think we're going to always operate from a space of emotion. Is it not? Just happened. Was I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I think we've lost Bidan.
Yeah. His video stuck.
Yeah, I think it's frozen.
Yeah. I think there was a power when it went dark also, assuming.
Yeah.
I mean, what are your thoughts?
So I think it depends on the person. A person whom not everybody is all very emotional, and I have come across people who are very logical, who it's not that they don't experience the emotions, but maybe they have a better handle on it.
Yeah.
And they're able to, like, okay, so let's keep this to, maybe compartmentalize it and say, okay, let's keep this to the side, but what needs to be done, what is the right thing to do, what does my moral whatever tells me to do in this situation. So I think it depends on the kind of person, and their makeup in the mind.
I
You
guess, can I
the
put
word
input?
sorry,
We
you
call
used the
two
word
person.
sorry.
Hey, sorry, you continue.
No, she used the word morality. If you use from that standpoint, we will go. I mean, will we not align with Arjuna more than Yudhishthir if we're going to use morality here? But if you see, like you said, Kaushal, like, some of us are tuned, some of us are able to go beyond and, use a logical, or the adult in us is present most of the time. I think it's something that we train ourselves to be, but I'm wondering, and I'm thinking aloud here, usually the auto response maybe is comes from a space of emotion, is it not, is my question.
I guess, can I give my inputs into this? Usually when we learn about personality. There is thinking mind and a feeling mind. So sometimes feeling mind is more dominant, and thinking mind then gets suppressed. So here, I guess maybe Arjuna's feeling mind was more in work, and thinking mind took back foot.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah, how I look at it is like, it's majorly, yes, it is the emotions which are uh, towards that moha and maya of his family, and his this thing is, my clan, my family, my this thing is so strong for him that he even forgot for a moment what they have done for them and for the five brothers. So he's so much into that. Emotional attachment for the entire his own clan is
I just wanted to share one point. Generally, in a crisis, um, you know, if you see somebody who's probably had a bad accident on the road, or who's probably fainted or needs medical attention, people who are not trained, their response is totally different. But if you look, if there's a medical personnel there who comes and intervenes, the way they perform is totally at a contrast, right? So there is something, yeah, there, because you have to go beyond that barrier of that emotional state. Only then you can perform. Actually, you can really,
Absolutely,
yeah,
Kripa.
yeah, you can sift the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. So it's not easy. Maybe it's some kind of training, or the way you are. Many things, yeah.
Yeah, the mental makeup, I guess.
Great. Sorry, I think I missed a lot of discussion that happened. I'll catch up on the recording. Thankfully, I had made Uma as my co-host, so the recording is on and going. Perfect. So can you just brief me in terms of what we missed out, or what did I miss out, so that I can take it from there?
Manju, do you want to go ahead and just summarize what we talked?
You can take him through, Kaushal.
Uh, so, Vidhanya, I think we were talking about how I think the automatic response in crisis situations, the default seems to be an emotional response. Um, uh, and overcoming the initial emotional response to it, and then letting your intellect kick in, and then take logical and rational uh, decisions to respond to that situation uh, is something that probably training helps, or being more aware, self-aware of it uh, helps. But yeah, I think that this one was that yeah, the automatic response is largely based on emotions.
Perfect.
The response, yeah.
Is absolutely right. So it is based on emotions. The first thing which comes is emotions. So I just wanted to bring your notice to the concept of shreyas and prayas, right? Shreyas is something that you do for the larger good, and prayas is something that you do which is easier for you. Now, earlier, if you remember, when Shri Krishna gave a choice to Arjuna and Duryodhana, that either take me or my army. So what does Arjuna choose at that point of time? He gave up the army of Shri Krishna, which was a highly trained army, and decided to go with Shri Krishna. So he chose a path of Shreyas. He looked at a larger picture. He was aligned with Dharma. But today, the same Arjuna is choosing what? Is choosing prayers, going with his emotions, completely being carried away by his emotions. And that's what we do when we are actually hit by an emotion. That's the first thing that we want to do. Right. So Arjuna clearly knew that this is Dharma Yuddha. He clearly knew that they're all fighting not for the throne, not for the kingdom, but they are fighting to establish Dharma. And when he was overcome by emotions, somewhere what happened is this is narrative changed. He said that, look, I don't want to kill my relatives just for the throne, just for the kingdom. The reason why they were fighting was completely lost. So the reason which he was giving, that by allowing so much of killing happening, it will lead to adharma, itself is false, because if you don't do this, that will lead to adharma, because you'll be ruled by people who do not follow dharma, and therefore adharmic forces will become deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So do you see this? Do you see the quandary? Do you see the complication? Do you see how exactly it works? And that is why Bhagwat Gita becomes so special. Because Arjuna is not going to ask Sri Krishna, tell me about Atman, tell me about Brahman, tell me about how universe functions. Nowhere. He's going to tell that, look, this is a very complicated situation for me. I am not able to do what I can. My mind is not working. I am going through an anxiety attack. I really don't know what is to be done. How do I lead my life? So this is a problem that we all face. And to solve his emotional problem, Shri Krishna will take a spiritual route. So there's a spiritual solution to an emotional problem. And that is why Bhagavad Gita becomes so interesting. And that is where psychology and scriptures come together. You see this? It's not a discussion between two highly intellectual people talking about Vedant Gyan or Atma Gyan. There's a discussion between two people. One is completely overwhelmed. Another one is trying to give solution using a very spiritual, different angle. All right. So let's
So the end goal matters. The outcome of the war dictates your decision, is it?
I think we have lost Vedant.
But the reality is that every warmonger does justify his reasons.
This thought crossed my mind as well, Prema.
Exactly. The point is, what is dharma and what is adharma? Who defines that? That's where we get stuck. That,
Right.
my right could be wrong for someone's right could be wrong for me. So we are living in duality. So we can't really.
So it's always a relative frame.
Yes. So if we
That's
look
it.
from Duryodhana's point of view, as a Kshatriya, he is absolutely right in wanting to wage war and claim kingship. His father might have been blind, but he is not. And his father was the elder brother. So he also has a stake. He is right from his side. This brings to mind that book, The Difficulty of Being Good. Has anyone had the chance to read it?
Yeah, Gurcharan Das.
Yeah. That's when it's like, oh my God, who is right? I mean, it's relative. It does. So I think a lot depends on the choices are there. How you process that information and then choose. And once you choose, you're thrown your dice, basically. I mean, drawing from Mahabharata. And you go ahead and you play your, whatever the
See, but I think there was an unjustness, right? They went for 13 years. And when they came back, as per whatever was the agreement, the kingdom was to be
But
handed
there
back,
was
right?
no, but there was according to Duryodhana's camp, they recognized Arjuna before sundown on the last day. So that was still, so it was their claim that they need to go back for 13 years.
Can I add something here?
Yeah.
I think if we look at things from a person perspective or a role perspective, this confusion and duality is always going to exist because we are trying to achieve by living in this world and getting somewhere, right? We always have a place that we want to get to. And so our actions will always be defined by that to a greater extent. So I think based on that, many judgments are made within ourselves. But what Bhagavad Gita is also telling us is, yes, when you are going through this and trying to get to a place, there are lots of challenges that come up. Sometimes we look at what we are going through and we take decisions accordingly. Sometimes it is important to look a little beyond you and what you are going through, your experiences, your feelings, and see what is the need of the hour and act accordingly, right? I think if we understand the two differences, then maybe we are able to make more logical conclusions about what is needed at that point in time. Because as you say, Duryodhana was already, for 14 years handling the empire. And if he had done a great job at it and given justice, then maybe all this wouldn't have boiled down to it at all. The fact that that was not happening and someone had to pitch in and change the events or the future of all the people involved maybe had to be thought of as the need of the hour or the dharma at that particular point in time.
Absolutely, Uma. Actually, that's what even so entire Gita, the conflict he has, Arjuna, because of the emotion and the attachment he has with his peer group, family. But at the end of the day, Krishna is able to show him the bigger picture, the bigger picture of dharma.
Yeah.
Which is much more beyond than all the attachment and emotions that is there. In fact, in our day-to-day life also, we take such calls. So, suppose like, you all have kids. So dealing with kids, it's a lot of time tough on them. Like, we've been like really tough on them to set a routine or the rules for them. And we are able to do only that because we have a bigger picture. Like, it is going to shape their future. This is how it will build their character or whatever. So when you can see a whole situation from a little far, you will be able to see the bigger picture. And that's where, that that's where you realize that, this small little attachment that, I'm punishing my kid for the moment, it's okay. Like, you'll be able to deal with it, but in a bigger picture, it will benefit. So as rightly Uma said that, we have to look at the bigger picture, and that's what I think at the end of the Gita, I think we'll understand that, how, but it's a long journey to like, really identify and, the bigger picture and identify from the immediate attachment and the emotions that
I
we
think
live with.
I think one point also is how Arjuna is making the whole thing about himself. See, the war was a bigger thing. It was done for a different purpose. And suddenly, with his own emotions, he is making it his own. Like, somewhere I also see that caught up in this attachments or whatever emotional strings, he is made himself as the center of this whole thing. So somewhere in Gita that also comes in, like, yeah, it's not all about you. So many times in our life also, when something, we always look at it from our perspective or make us as a central thing and start looking at, forgetting that we don't have that much of decision-making authority in the situation. So that's
That
how
is a
I
good
look at
point
it.
of view. Yeah, that's a good point of view. And I also feel the way to reach to a place where you can look at the bigger picture is also going through your emotions, right? Only when you go through them and overcome them is where you
Absolutely.
will get to a
Yeah.
point where you will look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So here in case of Mahabharata, we know the story, we have an idea of the characters. If we bring the same concept to today's war, if you're going to be talking about the Ukraine war, how do we what is Dharma here? Where do we begin? I have no clue.
So what happens, Manju, is specifically when we come to looking at the larger aspects, first of all, none of us will have the accurate information.
Absolutely. That is exactly why I'm asking this question,
So,
Vedant.
so therefore, Bhagavad Gita is written not for deciding for others. It is written for deciding for ourselves. If someone we know better than anybody else is the battle that is fought within ourselves. So I cannot ever decide what is good for Manju because I am not Manju. I am not staying with her. I do not know situation, right? And if I talk to 5 different people, there'll be 5 different perspectives. So as a person, I cannot decide what is dharma for others, except for the person himself or herself. So Bhagavad Gita is written for introspection, not to possibly look at and discuss that if there's a war which is happening between Israel and Hamas, what is dharma? If you were the Israeli prime minister, if you were over there, probably you would know what is dharma because you will have a right context. But for you and me to have a right context is very difficult because information itself is not complete. The only place where you have some completeness of the information is where you can decide. Does it make sense?
This is beautiful. Thank you.
So
this makes so much of sense because I got lost for a bit. This is completely making sense. When you said it's a tool for
yes,
self-introspection, and now it's making a lot of sense for me.
correct. So that is where we will sometimes end up getting into the stories that what was Yudhishthir representing a dharma or was Krishna representing a dharma, and we get into this nuances. But point here is that Yudhishthir, Duryodhan wanted to kill all his cousins right from the beginning, and we have that in the story, which is pretty black and white. But what is important for us to understand again, back to the point is, whatever will be told in Bhagavad Gita has to be applied on ourselves. But unfortunately, what sometimes happens, we use those tools to judge someone else, judge the system. That needs to be avoided. All right. So glad you brought this out, Manju, because this is something that we'll go through quite a bit. I'm sorry for the internet was playing up quite a lot today, but nonetheless, I think we got the essence. The point I wanted to leave it with discussion today is just to understand how complicated it is. How complicated it is to understand what is right, what is wrong, what is dharma, what is adharma, where is my emotions, where is my logic, is my logic driven by the emotions or my logic is standing by itself, right? And you're seeing the diversity of opinion within your own self, within your minds and within the group. And that was the idea of making it happen today. And therefore, the following sessions will become a lot more interesting in terms of how Shri Krishna will bring out a very unique way to kind of resolve the conflict which happens within ourselves. So we'll stop it here for right now. From next week onwards, the team will start making presentations. So we have already 26 of us or 28 of us who have decided to start making presentations. We will assign you the shlokas. Uma, maybe you'll have to just pin the resource material which has been given so that they can go back to that resource material. I think it's somewhere lost in the conversations that we have. And also wanted to clarify with respect to buddy system. So buddy system simply means that you have someone whom you can talk to since we are not aware of each other in the group right now. Most of us don't know each other. Buddy system does not mean that you will sit together and prepare. Because the shloka will be individually given to everyone. So everyone has to individually present. But sometimes you would like to kind of bounce it off with someone else. And that is why we were trying to put a buddy system together. So you have someone to speak with, just in case if you don't know anybody in the group. So that was the idea. The idea was not to sit and prepare together. Is that okay for all of you? This concept is clear, right? It is, so everybody is going to present themselves, by themselves, and all the resources will be made available to you. And if you are getting stuck somewhere, you have Uma, you have me, you have Ajit, you have Asha, you have Sana, a lot of people in the group whom you can reach out to if you're getting stuck somewhere. Perfect. Any questions? Great, then we will end with a prayer. And let me just hope that I have not missed out any point, just for the benefit of the group. Just give me one moment. So we kind of looked at everything. We have spoken about Arjuna's dilemma, Dharma Yuddha. The purpose of any action is to follow Dharma. Emotion, logic, and discernment is something each one of you have spoken. We spoke about Manos, Buddhi, Ahankara, and Bhakti. Bhakti is an interesting part. I would just want to leave you there. That emotions are very critical because people who follow Bhakti Marga is not by intellect. Right? It's the phenomenal amount of emotion that you have for your Ishtadevata. So emotion cannot be definitely sidelined, and therefore it is complicated, and we'll see how we go about. And the first chapter is called as Arjuna Vishada Yoga. The Vishada means basically you are getting into complexities. You have got into an anxiety attack. So these are the points that we were all talking about. So with good to go, we have set the context right. And in the following chapters, we'll take it forward from here. So I'll just like to close it here. So Asha, would you just want to take us through the prayers?
Yeah. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you.
Thank everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.